culminate, confront, restrain, justify, verb power times 4。4つの動詞を紹介します。動詞ってすごいです。なくてはならないものですね。当然、皆さんよくご存知だと思いますが、文章を作るときに SVO と SOV がありますよね。英語と日本語の基本的な違いですよね。でもね、まだまだ間違っている方がいます。わざとじゃないと言いますか、きちんとその SVO というルールを理解してますよ。しかし、なんとなくその SVO と SOV の順番が間違っている時がありますね。会話が全然進んで、きちんと英語を話してるのに、急にその動詞が最後に来て普通に驚きます。例えば、Really delicious cakes we ate. To the science museum I went. 会話の勢いで気づかないかもしれませんが、上級者でも気をつけないと落とし穴にはなりますよ。So, after saying all that, I'll try not to make the same mistake. That would be embarrassing. Here is the first verb. The first verb is culminate. 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 Here's the meaning in Japanese. When something culminates, it reaches a peak, a climax. It comes to a crescendo. Years of pointless war culminated in the assassination of the president. It's mostly used in a negative way, talking about lots of bad things happening one after the other, and finally coming to a terrible end. You see it used in news stories like these: politics, economics, war, social unrest. Of course, you can use it for slightly smaller things like divorce, getting fired, having an operation. Can we use it for positive things? Yes, we can, but not as much, like the discovery of a new drug or an Oscar nomination. Poor sales culminated in the product being discontinued and never being seen ever again. An example of a product like this is Sakura Drops. His years of smoking 20 a day culminated in him getting cancer and passing away before his time. So again, with health problems, like business, the health problems culminate over the years and get worse and worse and culminate. And then the person passed away. Here is a thought-provoking real-life quote from Sylvester Stallone, although in this case, it's being used as a noun. Success is usually the culmination of controlling failure. The second verb is confront. 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 This is what it means in Japanese. We use confront when we face things head on, face to face. The key point here is in front. It takes courage to confront things, as they are usually kind of tough, challenging, or scary. It doesn't always have to be about confronting a person. We can also use it for feelings or a situation where we eventually need to take action. Confront our fears. Confront a problem. Confront a bully. So it might be daunting to confront someone or something, but oftentimes it's just one of those things that we have to do in order to move on with our lives. I saw a text message from another woman on my husband's phone, so I decided to confront him about it. So this sounds like a pretty serious situation. Maybe you've found yourself in this situation too, but it takes quite a lot of courage to confront your partner in that kind of situation. The candidates confronted each other during a televised debate, which culminated in a huge argument. It reminds me of that debate when Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton were debating on live TV. Yeah, they kind of decided to confront each other in that one. Let's have a real life quote from organizing consultant, author, and TV presenter Marie Kondo. There's no need to let your family know the details of what you throw out or donate. You can leave communal spaces to the end. The first step is to confront your own stuff. We had a pretty demanding call out last week. One guy had asked his boss for some extra time off, and his boss flat out refused and said no. So the man, he got more and more upset, and eventually it culminated in him taking 23 people in his office hostage with a hunting rifle. So when we got there, we tried to negotiate, but he was having none of it. So we contacted his next of kin, who in this case was his daughter. She came, she confronted him, and he surrendered right away. It turned out that the man had wanted the extra time off to go to his beloved daughter's wedding. The third verb is restrain. 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 What does it mean in Japanese? This is used when you try to prevent someone from doing, exhibiting, or expressing something which they shouldn't. It's similar to control or stop. We can use it in many different ways. Kids doing something rude, kids being naughty. Or, on a more serious note, restrain activists at a demo. Restrain an angry basketball coach. Restrain a criminal being arrested. Restrain a dangerous animal. It's all about controlling their behavior and stopping them from causing trouble. Interestingly, if someone is being harassed in some way by another person, the courts can legally issue a restraining order. Hospital orderlies needed to restrain the patient as he was a danger to himself and others around him. So a hospital orderly is people who work basically in kind of a mental hospital, and they need to be physically strong to restrain people. They're called orderlies. You don't normally find them in regular hospitals. She couldn't restrain her anger any longer and decided to confront her neighbor about his loud parties. So you can also use restrain for your feelings to try and restrain your anger. Sometimes you try and restrain the laughter, but in many cases it's used, as I said, in a negative way, to try and restrain your anger. Let's have a quote from Bill Condon, an American director and screenwriter who was responsible for the Twilight series. It's in the nature of television to restrain the spontaneity of a live event. Things become more and more prepackaged. Next up, we've got justify. 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 In Japanese, you'd say, to justify something is to show or give solid evidence that something is right or reasonable. You have to prove it. For instance, you could say, I'm going to eat a whole pizza all by myself. So how do you justify eating a whole pizza? You could say, I haven't eaten anything all day and it's my birthday. I guess that kind of justifies eating a whole pizza, doesn't it? Things that cannot be justified are usually decided by the people who are in charge, like our parents, our partners, bosses at work, the police, the criminal justice system. It's hard to justify the cost of buying an electric vehicle right now, as we're unsure of what the future holds. So we often use the verb justify when we're talking about the cost of something, to justify the cost. If you can't give a reason why you should spend such a lot of money on something, then you cannot justify. Why should I have to justify myself when it was clearly the other driver's fault? So again, if you're involved in a car accident and you don't know who's to blame, the police will investigate and you have to give your side of the story, the other person gives their side of the story, and each person has to justify who was in the wrong. Here's a quote from Linda McCartney, the former wife of Beatle Paul McCartney, an animal rights activist and ardent vegetarian. There are people who try to justify eating fish by saying they have no feelings. Well, you watch a fish gasping for breath as it's pulled out of the water, and then try and tell me it has no feelings. We had a crazy customer come in here last week. You know, one of those guys that acts like a big shot, but lives in a 1DK apartment and drives a Suzuki Wagon R. I'm sure you know the type. So he came in, he orders a steak, and then he was unhappy with the way it was cooked, so he started pushing one of our waitresses around. Can you believe that? So I got some of the big boys in the kitchen to go in and restrain him until the cops came. So just because you're unhappy with a food never justifies getting violent with someone. So after he had gone, I checked his steak and it was completely fine. Perfectly cooked. Oh, what a Philistine. It's homework time. I'm going to give you 3 words and I want you to put them together and make a fantastic English sentence. Don't worry about making mistakes. I'm going to help you, okay? The 3 words are these: confront, problem, and improve, okay? So if you've never tried it before, don't be shy and don't bite. Put your answer down in the comments and I'm looking forward to seeing them when you're ready. Okay, good luck.